Bone Lake arrives as a psychosexual thriller that works within familiar territory but finds ways to feel distinctive. The premise is straightforward. A double-booked lakeside rental, two couples who agree to share the space, and a weekend that spirals into secrecy, seduction, and control. It is a setup rooted in isolation and mistrust rather than spectacle, recalling the unease of funny games, the intrusion of Pacific Heights, and the social tension of Speak No Evil. The film draws from those influences while creating its own mix of discomfort and provocation. The opening sequence sets a tone that few horror films dare. It is one of the most provocative introductions in recent memory, in an audacious way to bring an audience in. Yet, that beginning functions more as a tease than a template. What follows is not the relentless escalation promised in the first minutes, but a slower, more deliberate unraveling. For me, that change in pace created frustration. I tend to struggle with films that are engineered to irritate the viewer, where tension comes from watching characters stuck in cycles of poor decisions and mounting discomfort. It is a type of story that eats at me, more exhausting than entertaining, and still Bone Lake earns respect through execution. The film knows what it wants to be and commits to that identity. The confined setting keeps the focus squarely on the four characters, and the psychological games become the real spectacle. When strangers enter the supposed sanctuary of relationships, hidden truths and buried insecurities rise to the surface. The questions linger. How well do two people really know one another? How stable is love when outsiders apply pressure? Can intimacy survive once trust begins to collapse? The film is unafraid to play with those questions in ways that feel both exaggerated and unsettling. It leans into eroticism and manipulation without tipping into parody. The balance is difficult, yet here it gives the film a playful quality that keeps it from becoming oppressive. The tone shifts between dark humor and genuine menace, a combination that prevents the story from sinking into pure bleakness. Even when I found myself irritated by the dynamics, I also recognize the precision behind them. From a genre perspective, Bone Lake does not break new ground. The double-booked rental house has already been explored, like from films like Barbarian. The psychosexual angle recalls the thrillers of the late 80s and early 90s, from Fatal Attraction to Single White Female. The gaslighting and the psychological warfare echo Pacific Heights. And what distinguishes this film is not novelty, but a recombination. It takes those familiar building blocks and arranges them in a way that feels deliberately provocative, aware of its own influences and willing to engage in a kind of genre remix. The awareness extends the film's tone. It never takes itself too seriously. There is a sense of play beneath the tension and recognition. The audience is meant to squirm, but also to laugh nervously in the absurdity of certain moments. My own reaction remains conflicted. I respect the craft and the style. I see the deliberate choices in pacing and framing and tone, yet I also know that this is not a genre that brings me much enjoyment. The deliberate frustration, the cycles of manipulation, the characters trapped by politeness or by their own secrets, those elements wear me down. I left appreciating the film, but not eager to revisit it soon. That balance of admiration and unease feels like the trust description of my experience. The audience I saw the film with responded more positively. There were laughs, audible reaction, and energy in the room. And many seemed invigorated by the film's willingness to provoke. That difference in response highlights the divisive nature of Bone Lake. For some, the tension and provocation will be thrilling. For others, may feel like a chore. The film is designed to create that divide, and in that sense, it succeeds. As October begins and horror takes its place in the spotlight, Bone Lake stands as a fitting entry. It is stylish, provocative, deliberately frustrating. It unsettles through psychology as much as through blood. It will not be for everyone, and it's not for me in that way. I usually connect with horror, but this deserves attention for the way it embraces its identity. It will find an audience, perhaps more through word of mouth and streaming than through theatrical runs, but the audience will be loyal to the experience it offers. But Bone Lake is not a film that I love, but it's a film that I respect. It provokes, it unsettles, it sparks conversation. For some, it'll be the highlight of the season. For others, it'll be a curiosity best admired from a distance. Either way, it earns its place in the ongoing landscape of psychological horror. It is October. Embrace the spookiness and look at my full reviews at realpete.com. I appreciate you going on this film journey with me. And as always, be real.
Love is kind of like a game of chess.